And you know what? The highly publicized China tour of U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama continues to roll along. And when I say highly publicized, I mean the Chinese media is completely in tow. But as we highlighted in the previous show, much of the coverage gets rather odd, like the obsession with Mrs. Obama's attire. Now, note to Chinese media, she's not a fashion icon. She never claimed to be one, and probably never will be one. Another note, she's not vying to be one of the most muscular women. Among all her visits, one stands out, her visit to the Stanford Center at China's version of an Ivy League school, Peking University. Well, she had mentioned before leaving for China that she would focus on education, and that's exactly what she talked about. But the state-run Xinhua news agency and the South China Morning Post tackled separate angles. And the Post version echoed her remarks in a Caixin.com interview before beginning her trip, which was featured on our previous show. Well, here's Xinhua's version of that Peking U talk. U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama has called on students to study abroad to build what she calls bridges of understanding during her visit to a Beijing university. She said relationships between nations are not just about relationships between governments or leaders. She said they are about relationships between people, particularly the youth. She cited some examples of American student experiences in China. She quoted one who said that studying abroad is a powerful vehicle for people-to-people exchanges as we move into a new era of citizen diplomacy. She called on students to keep seeking study abroad experiences. Well, now to the angle the Post chose to highlight. U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama defended freedom of expression and other so-called universal rights in a speech to Peking University students. The remarks came during an otherwise soft speech in which she encouraged students to study abroad and cited her own success as a testament to hard work. Echoing her remarks in a Caixin interview before beginning her trip, Obama said she and her husband valued criticism from the public. She said she and her husband have seen that countries are stronger and more prosperous when the voices and opinions of all their citizens can be heard. The trip by the U.S. First Lady has been widely seen by Chinese analysts as an attempt to promote U.S. soft power in China. Well, you know what, to be fair, it would be unusual to see two unique news organizations report a story using the same angle. Now, the report of the Beijing News stuck to her education theme, but spun it so hard, the report's angle almost gave me a splitting headache. In recent years, U.S. society has been paying more attention to basic education. It wants to learn from the advantages of basic education in China and other East Asian countries. At the same time, China is thinking of gradually moving away from test scores as the most important criterion in education. Before her trip to China, Michelle went to a Chinese school in Washington, D.C. and learned some Chinese. Well, this might be just for show, but it also proves how much she cares about this education-themed trip. Now, the Wall Street Journal said Michelle doesn't actually care about Chinese education. She's visiting China for herself, her husband, and U.S. politics. She's using this smart theme to create her image as an elite mother. Well, assuming this is true, this trip still provides a catalyst for Sino-U.S. education exchanges. You know what? I really don't know where the paper got that idea about learning from Asian educational methods. Just as a footnote, by the way, there are a growing number of American colleges and universities which have made the SAT an option for freshman applications. And they've been doing so years before China even broached the idea of giving test scores less weight in the college application process at Chinese universities. Well, you know what? I'm just putting things in proper perspective. Finally, there'll always be the mundane and mushy angle in Chinese media. Look at this Shenzhen TV report. U.S. President Barack Obama recently appeared on the TV show Ellen. He said that after Michelle and their kids left for China, he was stuck with his two dogs. And he said he has to walk them. He said there are socks everywhere in the house, and he feels lonely. But he said he hopes his wife and children have a nice trip. And he said he hopes Chinese students would visit the U.S. when she returns. Believe me, he's lonely because It's lonely being at the top.